Are they people?
No. At a time when the government files are a matter of everyday Reddit discussions, your favorite extraterrestrial director is back with another movie, a pure celebration of the John Williams-Steven Spielberg collaboration. This is once again a chance to revisit the masters at work. I just got a chance to check it out, and I'll give you my review of Disclosure Day, because believe me, I had a good time at the cinema. Spielberg has given us various projects in which ordinary people try to make sense of some of the most extraordinary events, and Disclosure is a perfect tribute to that tradition. It's not like the master is back at his genre, it's just that he's once again managed to tap into it with remarkable confidence. We have Josh O'Connor as a mathematical prodigy turned whistleblower, and Emily Blunt as a weatherwoman whose reality shatters. Eventually, they will come together to ask the same question. Meanwhile, Coleman Domingo, who's probably having one of the greatest years in what is probably a good year for the cinema, ends up becoming the moral spine of the movie. But it was Eve Hewson's character that would really intrigue you about the master's writing. Her character is the one who questions herself when Faith is confronted by the undeniable cosmic truth. In fact, I agree with the man when he said the movie is more about humans and their connections than a sci-fi adventure. In his own words, at the core of Disclosure Day is the question, where has all our empathy gone? Would an actual Disclosure Day reunite what's divided or begin to repair what's broken in this siphoning away of empathy? And I think that was the personal link for me. There's more focus in this story on human connection than even the eventual and hopeful connection between an off-world civilization and the human species. Disclosure Day is not a holistic review of the entire history of the UFO phenomenon. It is an immediate, impending story that threatens to let loose the truth about UFOs on the entire world. And that truth is being carried by some really amazing performances that I was very lucky to be given by these actors. And one of these performances that stands out is none other than Colin Firth, the man who literally brings back memories of everything from X-Files to a bit of the Men in Black vibe with an absolutely memorable performance. But what about the aliens? Yeah, that's going to be the talk of the town. But if you know this man's work, you cannot deny he's the master of restraint. And that does become the clear example here once again. For most of the movie, you don't get to see the aliens. All you see is a pattern of communication through various disturbances and odd behaviors. The animals feel a bit weird, and quite a bit at that, and at the same time, certain conversations between people start taking a secret meaning of their own. So it's not at all about the reaction to an alien invasion or an attack. It's more about what happens to the distances between the people when the truth comes out. Colin Firth's character, Noah Scanlon, strongly believes that humans cannot stand the truth, but that's where Spielberg's characters prove him wrong. Even the sounds produced sound completely mathematical and intentional, with a larger meaning behind them. In fact, Emily Blunt revealed the behind the scenes for the strange sounds for her character, Margaret Fairchild. I said, well, I think I make some very strange sounds. We went in the booth and we did a variety of humming and guttural sounds and clicking sounds and just consonants and whispers. And then sound designer Gary Rydstrom layered the entire thing so it's a myriad of sounds happening simultaneously. I think he wanted it to sound quite mathematical and yet warm. Not necessarily scary, but probably a bit overwhelming. In a way, it has the style of filmmaking that Close Encounters of the Third Kind did, in the way that even the light itself becomes an essential character and evokes a sense of transcendence. But Disclosure Day works for the right now, the present time, when conspiracy theories and major government secrets are a major part of the public discourse. We're supposed to take all the anxieties associated with these things and turn them into something more hopeful. And that might just also be a place where some people might not completely agree, because Spielberg's people are good and they can stand the truth together. Meanwhile, most science fiction movies instead delve into how humanity will completely fail when it comes to the unknown, and this will strongly divide them into various reaction groups. Disclosure Day instead tries to establish the idea that there's a chance that maybe the acceptance itself is an evolutionary step. Yeah, the curiosity matters, and it's the one thing that's allowed us to come this far. I am somewhat amused by the idea that the man literally developed the story in the span of 2 months and decided to make it into a movie. Yeah, it's an original story from him that has a lot of influence, but it still feels like something deeply core to the material that only he can pick. In fact, there are moments when you'll have a strong feeling of influence from his own filmography. At that time, we're so used to some of these narratives, he managed to pick something that brings back memories of 70s and 80s era movies while still having a strong core in the present. It's almost bizarre to imagine that even through this movie and decades of filmmaking, Spielberg was still unsure about the material he was working with. There's no moment where you feel you'll be lost in the narrative. The pacing is perfectly aligned with locking you in and making you wonder about what's coming next. In the end, the master said it best. I'm telling the story about an area of interest I have never been able to divest myself of. It's been too compelling for me and has kept me thinking about what's out there, what's been out there, and how come we've not been told it's out there. And I wanted to finally make this movie, in a way, as a summation film for all the sci-fi films that I've made, starting with Firelight when I was 17 years old on 8mm film, about the truth. Are we alone or are we not alone? And it's right there that this movie becomes another endlessly rewatchable work by the director, because, in the end, it goes beyond the typical sci-fi movie. It's a lot more like a love letter to the idea of wonder itself.